And so it's I always felt it was like very shallow in her analysis. It was a very neoconservative analysis, not a Tucker Carlson conservative analysis, not even a Donald Trump.
Hi. The previous stream was a bit of a disaster, so I thought I would try to explain what's going on. Myself and Brian have been using a platform called Riverside to do our streaming recently, and the reason why is because Riverside records locally, like the video and the audio, so we can get a much higher quality. And we were planning to start producing smaller clips from that higher quality, because Riverside also offers the ability to use AI to clip our large form content to smaller, more manageable bites. And you guys have all been expressing a desire to be able to send out or to share like stuff that's a little bit more condensed. And so that's what we've been doing, and it's been going great for me and Brian. But when we brought Karen on, Karen's computer decided that it did not like Riverside's online app. So what ended up happening is the stream got eaten by technical difficulties. However, some of it was recorded by Riverside. So I am here to show you the good recording that Riverside caught so that you know, just to make up for the mess that the stream became. And please forgive us. I know it's crazy. I appreciate your patience, because this looks like just basically a construction site is what it is. So thank you for your patience. And here is the stream that got eaten yesterday. Coming to you live from deep within an ice. Wait, no, it's not icy. It's sort of muddy and wet and slightly warm, radioactive wasteland. We're the survivors of the alt-right Keck apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the froggy lobster zombie, no longer having children hordes, with Rant Zerker number something.
213.
213.
Maybe. Yeah, 213.
Men and women are not getting together. How can we make it worse? I am your host. Oh, no, sorry. What's happening between men and women, and how do we make it worse? Because that's the goal, isn't it? It's to not address the problem and continue to make everything get worse. I am your host, Allison, and with me is the indomitable Brian.
And yeah, when I have the flu, I have the flu,
because I forced her into this,
and I have to move my son back into the house over the next 2 days. And that's when Allison, yeah, he moved out in February of last year. And, he got a nice apartment, and he was doing pretty well and everything, but then inflation. So now he's moving back in. Oh, and he got turned down for a promotion because of certain multicultural artifacts that certain cultural artifacts that certain immigrants bring with them, like rampant nepotism and graft. So yeah. Oh, I am. No. Okay, so he.
Are you even allowed to say that anymore?
He got a job
Nepotism
at 19,
isn't bad, depending on who's doing it.
At Walmart as an associate. And he was recommended for promotion to management at 19. And he got that promotion. He had to wait until he was 20 because the open position was in the department where his sister was working. So he would have to actually be in charge of his sister, and that was a conflict of interest. And so he couldn't have that position. But the store was moving from one location to another, and it was expanding its hours to 24 hours versus 24 hours of like people being on shift versus just the 2 shifts, right? So 3 shifts rather than 2. So, and Rachel was like, I'll take graveyards. And so once they moved, Rachel took graveyards, and they promoted Sam to department manager of his particular shift, which was shift 2, which is 2 to 10:30 p.m. Right, and then they invited him to apply for general manager or associate general manager, or assistant general manager, and he did. And then the new management team that took over, who were of a particular ethnicity, chose one of their own ethnicity, and everything kind of fell apart. And now he demanded a demotion. He didn't have to take a pay cut, but he was just like, I'm not putting up with this, right? Like, it wasn't even just being denied the promotion to assistant general manager, but the managers were poaching members of his team to work other shifts to make those other shifts look right, like have good numbers. And I went through this at Denny's with this same kind of way of doing things, right? You know, in Edmonton, yeah, the morning shift always looks like it's got the best numbers out there, right? Because the morning shift doesn't do any prep work and the side work and the others. They just do nothing but serve customers and leave all of the mess for the next shift to clean up, right? So their labor cost numbers look great, and yeah, no, and it's just like, and those are the people that management favors, and they give them all these perks, right? Where you don't have to fill up the syrup jars, and you don't have to, fill up the salad bar, and you don't have to do any of this before we let you go. And it's just like, yeah, no. So now he's just like, he's fed up. He didn't have to take a pay cut, though. That's the one thing. No pay cut. Still making the same pay as he was as a department manager, but yeah, he can't make it. He can't make it. He's living in a really good apartment in a really good, well, not in a really good building, in a really shitty building, but a great apartment. The price was super good, and he walks to and from work, and he still can't make it. He cooks for himself and all of that. He still can't make any, can't put any savings away, and he still can't, so he's just like, I'm going to look for an apprenticeship and move back home.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah, and he's 21.
So
he's
speaking
21
of
now.
making it in
Right, he's 21
age,
now,
like our
and
post,
he's
our post
like every
age.
time I talk to somebody,
Yeah,
and
like
he
I
says
totally
he
get what
even
it is.
has
Like,
this with
it's
people at work,
responsibility
like customers
without
right,
authority,
they're like,
what you're talking about.
how many girlfriends you
At
got?
least
Like
sounds
these
it.
old guys, old Greek guys or whatever, right? How many girlfriends do you have? You must have a lot of girlfriends, because he's like 6'5". He's looking in the face. He has nice hair. He's got a good body, right? And he's like, none. And they're like, yeah, no. And they're like, what? Like, what are you talking about? How do you have no? And the Jamaican ladies at the local store, they're like, what? Your son who's like this tall has no girlfriends? What's going on?
He's a Chad.
They say the ladies should be falling at my feet, and yeah, no, all I got is trailer trash Raylinda.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what we'll be talking about.
Yeah, no, that's what I keep saying. It's the 66666, right? The solid 6 woman
because
demands
to
6 feet,
like
6 inches, 6 figures, and a six pack, and he's got everything but the 6 figures.
Income of a man in his
well, I don't know personally 6 inches, but I assume so. Well,
it's just not gonna happen.
he manscapes, so
yeah. Well, like I said,
I was gonna say, whoa.
Well, I'm just saying, like they are.
Yes.
Okay.
At his youngest, most fit and most energetic,
they say
and most
essentially
most physically capable, but also from his 40s when he's most financially secure,
the best part
and
of his own life,
and career oriented,
cherry pick the body from the
Yeah,
20s.
available. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and from his 60s when he's most
All of them.
emotionally.
All of them. Yeah.
And it's from his
No,
60s when he's
and
the
then
most
they're like,
emotional and
and then they're like,
philosophical.
why?
Yeah, you know, and it's
Why
like,
do
what the
I
heck do you
have a
want?
waist to
That's
hip
impossible.
ratio in
You
order
want a
to
guy, you
attract
want to
men?
take a
Why
guy
do
and you want to
I like?
smooch
Why do
the
men get
best
like?
single years,
I'm
the best
only
achievements in his life
32.
to
Like, why
right
are men
now
less interested?
for
That's
you.
not
And
fair,
it's like, that's not
right?
gonna
And it's
happen.
like, yeah, fuck
All of it.
you. Like, are you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, okay.
I'm not.
We should get into the topic
Her
because
Karen's
we
internet.
we have a limited number of hours.
Yeah, we do. And Karen's internet is a little bit
Yeah.
janky, so this should be interesting. Okay, so the way that we're going to do it is we are going
Well,
to.
it's going to record good on her end.
Oh yeah, so it's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
It's going to be interesting. It's an interesting experiment because we're using Riverside to record locally, so we'll see what happens. But all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at various clips related to the current circumstances as they are and how people are responding to them. The situation between men and women, the fact that they're not pair bonding, the fact that we live in a breeding colony, and when we stop breeding, the colony collapses. So we're in for some difficult times. On the last show, I talked about how kids born now, like a child born now, is going to experience their old age in what may end up being the worst era of human history if we don't fix this. Like those babies, you see, you go to neonatal ward, when they are old, when they're in their old age, they're going to likely be dealing with levels of poverty, destruction, environmental degradation, and catastrophe that would just beggars the mind. And nobody seems to care. I mean, I dare you guys, everybody who doesn't care about this, including feminists. You don't have to look at the boy babies. We know you don't care. Go look at the girl. Go look at the little baby girl just born, and realize if we don't fix this problem, if we don't have some kind of compromise, and that means women have to compromise too, which will be astounding. But regardless, if we do not compromise on those issues, those baby girls are going to experience worse and worse and worse conditions. Right? Up into when they're the most vulnerable, which is in their old age. Okay? And then they are going to be experiencing the implosion of the society that we have right now if we do not fix this.
All right.
We are a breeding colony. If we do not breed, the colony collapses. All right. So this is what we're going to look at. We're going to, first off, I guess you got Lauren Southern queued up, right?
Well, I do. So I got a couple of different things. We get one video from women on the right, Lauren Southern. We got one video from a woman on the left. We have Judith Butler. And then we have a video from men. So this should be good. I'm going to put it on the screen. We'll start with Lauren because we did cover some of this. Lindsay saw this video and she was like, you gotta talk about this, and sent me, but we didn't get to the point that she thought was the most
I just
relevant.
gave up. I just lost my will to live watching this.
Yeah. So we didn't get to the part. So anyway, what this video is about is I don't know why it's like struggling to. Let me hold on a second.
Internet's a little bit janky today.
So no, it's just my YouTube. It's I don't know if it's Brave. But anyway, so Lauren Southern is trying to make the case that there is growing misogyny on the right amongst men, and that like there has been this meme, because it can't be anything but a meme. It can't be anything but that, which is repeal the 19th, right, on Twitter.
Oh,
And
before
people are
it
talking
was
about
cool,
it.
yeah.
And of course, some women like Lauren Chen and Rachel Wilson were like, yeah, bring it on. This like, this is good. But they're just talking about it. And then women like Sydney Watson and Lauren Southern have lost their minds. So Lauren Southern is connecting this growing misogyny on the right with, I guess, making money because of mass migration. She's making a connection. And what she starts off by saying is, look, I was fighting feminism back in 2015, and she basically shows a bunch of feminist clips. And then and then like the clips of men today, and she's sort of like trying to draw a connection. So we're going to watch this clip. Don't respond until we get to the men clips, because it was just then when Allison was like, I can't do this. And of course, we never got to actually do that. And I think that was actually the thing that Lindsay really wanted us to see.
So don't rage quit
let's
like I did, Karen.
yeah. So let's
No,
play 30
you
seconds
weren't.
of Lauren Southern setting up this thing where
Sorry,
she's like, I was
sorry.
fighting feminism before any of you
You-
noobs got here.
No,
To be the same sex as Donald.
okay,
You
at the
get tired of
forefront
trying to be
of
manly all the
challenging
time.
that.
I love the
We were at the
mansplaining.
forefront
I'm
of
enjoying
challenging.
it.
She got
The
into it because she saw it
mansplaining
was
that's going on.
something that
There I was
was
thinking it was just
you
me
know,
that had a problem, but it turns out it's the
interesting
air
or
conditioning
or
sexist.
marketable
I
or
know.
lucrative
So
or
many
whatever.
women
I
out
don't
have the
know,
exact same problem.
right? But
Manspreading is
I
when a
literally
man
slept
spreads
on my
pieces of fruit
couch
or
when she
explain
went to the
impossible.
Edmonton
I
Slut
was on the
Walk.
forefront of
She,
criticism.
yes, so she was not at the forefront.
Okay.
She was.
We're gonna,
She
we're,
was
I want,
3
no, no, it's okay.
years
Let's
late
let
to the
Lauren Southern
forefront.
finish this. There was a shot of her at the slut walk. This was kind of like the first, I think that was kind of one of the
Yeah,
first.
because
Yeah, go ahead, Alice.
yeah,
Go ahead, Karen.
and before him, E. Belfort Bax and the Vienna Freaking Rights Association and all of that. Mhm.
I know. I said that when we talked. Yes, she slept on your couch. That's right.
Yeah,
Yes, I know.
20.
All right. So
Yeah, I
Yep.
know.
And
Like
we weren't on the forefront
I
either. Like
I
that would
always
be a voice
because
for
I
men. And
started
before
doing
a
this
voice
in
for
about
Warren Farrell. Like, there's been a
2009,
large
2010, and I on the
movement
shoulders of giants.
who've been opposing this.
Always said that. I've always said I was
Yeah, like
building on the work of people who came before me.
I mean, how
Right?
you could even put in
She's like,
Florence
I was at the
Nightingale calling out
forefront.
the
Okay,
lack
yeah,
of
no,
compassion of her
actually you
sisters.
weren't.
You
You
know,
weren't.
like
You
there's
were on
been
the forefront
plenty
of the
pushback
conservative
against
movement,
this
maybe
narrative that men
if
oppress
there,
women,
you know,
that
if there
men
was,
grab up
if
all
there
the goodies
is
of
an
society, that
anti-feminist,
men
it
get
is
all the
because
consideration.
they all,
You know, there's been
everybody
pushback
agrees
against
that
that narrative for a
that
very
men
long time.
oppressed women
She
because men
came
are
in at that point,
horrible
you know, I'm
and
not
they
gonna
need
say
to be
I
like
was doing this
curtailed
since
in
like
order to
the
not
early
oppress women,
2000s.
right? And
So,
they
you know,
have
there's
been doing that
you're
for
not at the
millennia,
forefront. That
right?
was
And
just
it's
the
like,
next
yeah,
iteration.
no,
Like she wasn't
it's
even there
basically
for what?
it's
The
the
Warren Farrell
description is
stuff,
all the
all of the
same,
stuff,
right?
the
Basically,
men's
and then you know there's some niggling
when
over
Warren Farrell was being
statistics and how you interpret them and like prescriptions to fix the problem, and the problem is always men.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna play some more.
Mail order
any of
brides.
this.
Yeah.
I'm just pausing for the banana there. She is trying to connect the sort of red pill manosphere to the migration. I don't see it, but it's women that voted for it.
But you know,
I
men
will
did it.
defer to Scott Adams, who said that one of the reasons why he believed that so many women voted for open borders was because they wanted to have more access to more genetic variety and more like available men, and that they did that, you know, just out of self-interest. I can't prove it, obviously, but I do think that there is
Well,
a rationality behind it that does make some sense, but we're still blaming men at the end of the day. So
what would we say if men voted to import a whole bunch of women, slender women, 18 to 36? What would we say? We would say, I think there's some self-interest there, and I don't think there's any difference when you're looking at women.
Well, it's funny because when passport bros get a lot of skepticism, and they're not trying to destroy the country with their decisions, they're just going to another country. So even when men behave badly, or if we call it bad, because they want some genetic variety, they don't destroy a country to do it. They just go to another country.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah.
like, can we come? The passport bros, they export themselves, and the women who voted for open borders, they import the men.
And there's like there is actually a precedent to this, because a lot of the women in the aid organizations were caught having sex with, let's face it, the very young boys and young men that were being brought over. So there is a predatory sexual element to this. Now, of course, what are we doing? We're blaming red pill bros apparently for immigration now.
It is a strange scapegoat, but let's play. It's a little and odd. I think that it's based on some strange assumptions about. Also, it's based on some strange assumptions about foreign men as well.
Oh yeah,
but let's play this.
That's funny. I like family more than you. I have 5.
Now, I just gotta say that
misrepresent.
You know, say what you want about this, but I think some of those are taken out of context and they're very disingenuous. And this is all I will say about it. Like Steven Crowder saying that Don't give me the he's not a red pill guy, okay? He's going through a messy divorce. He did everything right, in quotes, saved himself and all of that. And he is basically experiencing like the system. And I think in that particular clip, he wasn't referring to essentially like the same suggestive message that, say, I don't know, the Fresh and Fit clips sort of, imply, which is more like, hey, if you should use women for your sexual pleasure and then move on. Which again, men are they can do that. I mean, women do it. Like, I don't see why that's a problem. But there is a much more sinister implication, and when you put it in contrast, the thing I gotta compare it to. First of all, she misrepresents Steven Crowder, and some of the other people likely are also misrepresented, because if that's wrong, then I have to wonder about the rest of it as well.
Yeah.
But also, she compares 20 activist college-age feminists complaining about air conditioning, manspreading, and mansplaining to this whatever this is that she's suggesting is far more sinister, and that somehow it's only about money. And she doesn't even offer like anything else. She doesn't say, if you, with the men's issues, there are people that this is just like what happened with Shu. This is why I got upset with Shu, because she just wanted to show like, oh, look at all the mean things that the commies that are on my side are saying about men, and then, oh, here's Andrew Tate, and that's like it. Like, he's the only other person.
But she did actually give us a shout out.
She did, yes, later. But I'm saying at first, I was like, why didn't? Because you knew who we are. Like, Lauren Southern knows Karen. She slept on her couch.
Yeah.
But this doesn't come up. So it's like, I talked to Sydney Watson. I've had her on the show like way back when she was starting out.
You don't want to know why? Because bringing up men's issues, bringing up the fact, like, she talks about, all these feminists, they were talking about, what was it? Mansplaining and sexist air conditioning. Well, yes, and we sometimes talked about that too. But for us, the big problem that we had with feminists is that they're demonizing boys and young men. They're actively discriminating against them in schools, which you can find by statistics. Feminist teachers mark boys down. They are not they're discriminating against men's issues when it comes to domestic violence and rape. Like, we've talked to Justin Trottier how many times the last decade, and his trial and trying to bring services to men to Canada, and we also talk about how the narrative that men oppress women demonizes men and strips them of any kind of recognition that their problems matter, because it blames those problems on them. These were the things we were talking about. If she acknowledges that, if she acknowledges us, her point is weakened, because everything that we talk about is profound, right? We're talking about a society that does not care about its men and actively demonizes them. Who cares? Who cares if these guys go out there and say things like, well, you don't have to care about women, don't care about us, we're not going to care about them. Who cares if they say rude things when we live in a society that doesn't care about men when they're raped? Can you think about, like, can you have some priorities here? And if she actually recognized us, if she actually said, there's these people who talk about men's issues, they don't spend 24/7 trying to insult women or make them out to be stupid like they do in the Whatever podcast. You could take a look. Then she would have to acknowledge the scope, like, of what she's complaining about versus what we're complaining about. People are rude on the internet. Guess what the feminists in 2016 were complaining about, Lauren? People being rude to women on the internet. Now you're complaining about people being rude to women on the internet, and you want things shut down, presumably, unless you're just complaining. Unless this is a call for censorship, like Anita Sarkeesian? Yeah. Like, what is this? You're doing what you said you fought in 2016. And no, the fact that these men are being rude on the internet is in no way, it's not even in the ballpark. When I have to go talk to Justin Trottier, who has worked for 10 years to bring services to men dealing with things that would turn your hair white, services to men who get nothing, and he has to fight against feminist bureaucrats to have these services recognized as valid and worthy of some kind of public assistance, public funding. I have
in the
to,
morning,
and you know,
dressed
I'm not the one doing that
for the
fight, but I'm
slut
the one
walk,
watching
and
it.
like make
And
them
then I'm
look
have to
silly, and I
watch
was just like, that's
people
not my
talk
thing.
about,
Over
oh, men
there,
are rude to
and
women on
I
the
hung
who gives a
out,
fuck?
and while she was doing her
Do you want to
thing
censor it? Well,
for
if you
the
don't want to
cameras,
censor it, you're
and
just whining. Let's deal with the
but
lack of
I brought
services for
up,
men. Let's deal with the
you
fact
know,
that
things
boys are being
like
demonized.
divorce
You talk
law
about men
in
being
Sharia,
rude to women on the internet? What is it when
and
a
and
6-year-old
you
boy
know,
has to listen to an
difference
adult
in
woman talk about how he's
execution
to
and
blame?
incarceration
Or a
rates
12-year-old boy
between
has to
men and
listen to a
women
group of
in
people coming
Islamic
into his
countries,
school and saying,
or
well, take
radically
responsibility for
Islamic
violence
countries,
against women, Billy.
and
Oh,
things
I'm
like
sorry. Were you
and she
beaten
was
by
just
your mother
and
last week?
I
Well, take
explained it,
responsibility for
right?
violence against women.
It's
We
like,
don't
okay,
care.
so you
Like,
put
this is the
extra
shit that we've
limitations
had to
on
deal
women
with. And
so
if
they
she
get extra
recognized us,
protections.
she'd have to recognize
And
that. And I think that
and
puts
she was
her complaints
powdering
into
her
perspective.
face. I remember she
We're
was
dealing
like,
with a society-wide
she had her
movement, institutional
and was
disregard of men's feelings,
you
their
know, doing
personhood,
this,
their physical
and
being,
she's
their
like,
rights, and their children's rights to them.
right.
You are dealing
So
with rude,
like she's not
red pill bros on the internet. Which,
into
like I said, that's
she
what the
doesn't.
feminists didn't like in 2016
She's
when you were against
on the
them. Now you're for them?
neocon
Now you're for their
right,
initiatives?
as
Yeah,
far
that
as I'm
sounds sort of like you
concerned, right?
changed.
Look at those
But maybe you
Muslim
didn't.
men over there and how badly
I don't
they
know.
treat their women.
Let's see. Sorry,
And
go
I'll
ahead.
let Karen have
Okay.
her
and how
her say,
ridiculous
yeah.
feminists are, and the progressives are, and how
Karen, you
how
want to say anything?
the wage gap or the pay gap or whatever is a myth, and things like that. Really easy surface questions and accusations, right? Our men don't harm women with pay inequality, right? But those men over there, right? They're really bad, and they don't treat their women right. And so it's I always felt that was like very shallow in her analysis. It was a very neoconservative analysis, not a Tucker Carlson conservative analysis, not even a Donald Trump conservative analysis, but but like a Mitt Romney style conservative analysis. So she mentioned, help women, and promote society, right? Yeah, no, and we're the ones who are supposed to be doing these things. The men are supposed to be doing these things.
Yeah, right. And yet, very popular.
Yep.
Okay, so
Let's finish this off, right?
yeah, I mean, she's just gonna. There's another minute, so I'll just play the rest of it.
Oh yeah, no.
Complete family, eh?
Yeah, well,
okay.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice, but
well, I think
yeah, go ahead.
Essentially,
basically,
yeah, most women, it's just a matter of like the degree
essentially
to which you
this
believe
is the thing that
men arbitrarily harm women when left to their own devices, right?
I was gonna say, I don't know if you guys are dropping, but what I think is going on here.
Okay, so Lauren Southern,
I think Lauren
she's been through a breakup.
like
she
Sydney
has a
Watson,
kid,
some
right?
of these other right-wing women.
By that relationship,
they're afraid. They're afraid because men are
endorsing
like their disdain and frustration is impossible to ignore.
I guess a traditional
and what they
want
is for them to just
right, where
go back to
you're married long term.
I think
at least
this is what I'm getting
kids
from them.
Are old enough to fend for
they're
themselves.
Like, can we just have 90s feminism? And the men are like,
you hold
none,
that and you make it
no
work
more
because
we're
you
done.
made a vow
Drizzle,
all of those things,
right?
right?
And they're like, no,
That's
please.
What
and what they're afraid of, this is the thing they're afraid of. Somebody made a tweet, and I think this is really perfect.
Right? Marriage for life, or at least for as
women.
long as it takes for your kids to grow up, right?
They say right-wing women, I'm just paraphrasing.
She's failed.
Right-wing women have to
like as good
take
looking
the
as
ring
she
of
is,
female power
as
and cast it into the fires of Mount Doom.
She's failed at that.
And they just won't do it. Like they can't let go, right? Because they know, and this is the thing, they know what power women have. And what they're afraid of is that if they put all of their faith in men will oppress them. And I've seen this from women all over the so-called political spectrum.
Yeah, no, I never considered
and just what I've always said is that at the end of the day, almost everyone on Earth, no matter what part of the world, is a little feminist. Almost everyone, like very few people, and they're all like, well, we have to be somewhat, because if we're not, the men are going to oppress us. They're going to turn us into chattel. We have to be, right? And so this is what she's afraid. That's what I think is happening. She's afraid. Now, the women who are typically not afraid tend to be married in stable families. Those women are okay, but the ones that, like Lauren, went through a bad breakup or whatever, they're afraid. That's what I think. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
she does.
Well,
It goes down to her right to resources. They're threatening her right to resources.
You know, it's funny because Steven Crowder also.
We're having like a lot of, or at least I am.
Well,
Karen is breaking up a lot.
Karen's breaking up a lot for me too, but it's not on my end. It's not on your end. It's just on hers.
Yeah,
I think
your internet's
But what I was going to say is, Steven Crowder is another example. He's actually the opposite example. So Lauren Southern tried to do everything right. Although I think she may have made a mistake because she got involved with like a long distance relationship. And that was, and then she got herself banned from like Australia and the UK and stuff, and made it impossible to like be with this guy. And I mean that she took responsibility for that and say, yeah, I did do that to myself. You know, like at the end of the day, it comes down to me. But Steven Crowder also did everything right. He saved himself for marriage. He did all of the things correctly, and he doesn't have that resentment. You know, I mean, he's become more aware of women's, power. He's also become aware of what, the courts are like. And Lauren Southern tried to dismiss that too. I remember her like going after Crowder, because when Crowder's ex-wife came out with that, all this supposed evidence, and it's all looking very sketchy, she immediately sided with the woman. And I think that's because of her own experience. She was even saying that, the idea that men get, screwed over in divorce is exaggerated, and it just comes down to who has more money and all this. But Crowder doesn't have that resentment. I've been, I still watch him. On Rumble,
I mean, like my parents.
He's been red pilled. He's probably got
look
some
at my parents, right? Like, and look at the complaint that millennials and Gen Zers have. Generation
the
X,
situation.
Right? Oh, you had it so easy.
And yet they both kind of like followed the same path.
No, we didn't.
I don't know. Lauren's got a different.
The amount of
else?
Lauren's a victim of it. Lauren's a victim
to building
the
wealth
that
just
like,
they had when my dad died in 2021.
Which really means, like, ultimately, this comes down
astounding. Right, and I learned that
woman
at my mother's knee.
To let go,
learned how to do that work, and at my father's knee as well. And I learned how to do that, and I put
Are they
that
willing
in
to let go
when
of the
I
identity
formed
of
a family,
alpha and
when
omega
I got married and had my kids. I put in all of that kind of work, and
so I mean,
the idea that you can
just dynamic
you can just sit back.
They both have things they have to let go of.
Your husband.
It's probably
you
easier
marry
for
a man
not
who already
to
earns
say,
six figures,
of
and back then in the
as a man,
early
I was
1990s,
expected to be a provider.
It
was
lot.
Overwhelming. It destroyed my relationship. Whatever. He's not making that argument.
And sit around.
She seems to be maybe not making that argument personally.
Do
I
anything, not
really
put
been
any
following that saga very
in
closely,
any
but
effort.
she seems to be making
and you can
that
just
argument
spend. You
greater,
can like go shopping at a big box store, Bed Bath and Beyond, right?
Women. I mean,
you
can say what you like about
it
Muslims.
never
They
occurred
are
to me. Like, and I know women who do this. I know women
and of course,
who do this.
If you believe the kind of
seasonal
narrative,
fear
narrative
and
around them, that think that they oppress women.
Blankets.
We have
so they have
that.
For spring, summer, winter, and fall, they have different throw pillows and throw blankets.
Although I will
that they
point
put
out
on their
that when
living room
Islam
furniture,
was in its heyday,
right? And
the women in Islam,
they redo their top to bottom. Wall tiles, floor tiles, appliances, everything every 5 years. Right, they do that
at that time.
in order to make the and it's like that. And they go on 2 vacations a year that require flights
looking at
and all of this stuff,
darkly.
And it's just like it's just
anyway,
consume, right?
To
Meanwhile,
say,
in order to not have to work, right outside the house when my first 2 were small, and have to go back and cook freaking pizza or fish and chips for like other people. Right?
You don't necessarily.
You know what I did? I rescued furniture from the dump
things because it's going
and reupholstered it,
finished
it,
like
Like, that's what I did.
Utopian life. You do it.
That's what I, because I couldn't
pinnacle.
afford new
You do it
furniture. I couldn't
because
afford new
you're
anything.
a good person who is moral and
Right?
has integrity.
So, like, and
Okay?
that's the way
Sometimes
my
that really
parents
asks a
lived.
lot of you,
And they,
a
sure, they
lot.
died with
But you do it
$750,000
because you're a good person and you have moral, you have integrity.
right? Or my
Right?
dad
It's like
died
her
with
framework of traditional
$750,000
values was,
just sitting
well,
around
these are the
earning
tools that I'm
passive
gonna use
income,
to construct
right?
my perfect life. Right?
They didn't
Didn't
get
turn out like that for
there
her because she didn't
without
realize
going
that
through
traditional
that,
values are things
without
you live
doing
up
that.
to,
And you have these
not
people
something that
who are like,
shapes your
oh,
life in the way that you
I
think is
have an
ideal.
engineering degree. I deserve
Yeah,
a
okay. So I just wanted
2,500 square foot house, right? That's newly built or recently built and has all of the modern amenities. And anything less is not okay. And my first house was 65. That's what we paid for it. 65.9, and it was 1,100 square feet. 1,100 square feet, and like, so I'm looking at the expectations, right, of these people. Oh yeah, no, but there were plenty of houses about that size, right, that didn't need work, that were for a lot more money, way more than we could afford, right? This house needed work. This house had problems. So that's the one we bought because that's what we could afford, right? And even this house now that we have, right? It was built in 1952. It has more problems than you can count. It's a ridiculous house, right? But you know what our mortgage payments are? $378 every 2. Did you hear that?
being frugal.
Yeah, those were the days.
All right, is that her or me?
I don't know.
Okay.
Karen, you're still talking.
Yeah, I heard that.
We heard
Okay,
your
let's reel it
mortgage.
back.
This is recording on your end, anyways. But
Let's reel
you
this
should
back
do the
in a bit.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
should
should
do
do the things, and then we'll get into the next. Well, I
Yeah.
got a bunch of super chats and super chows to read too.
So we'll do the things, then we'll read the super chows, then we'll get into the next, which is Judith. Let's see,
Judith Butler.
Butler, yeah, very interesting. So
Judith
now we,
Butler. I always get her mixed up with Julie Bindle. Their names are too similar, but
yeah,
Judith Butler is a different Wicked
Julie,
Witch.
yeah, different. Well,
Judith.
the thing is that the Wicked Witches are now fighting each other, so that's good. Yeah, there's a little bit of a silver lining to all this. But anyway, so if you would like to send us a message, and I see quite a few of you have, go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. It's the very best way to send us a message. Because you get to avoid YouTube's comment enhancement system, which is a euphemism for censorship, and we get the full benefit of whatever funds you send. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Anything you want to comment on that we have been talking about, you want to tell us we're full of shit, we'll take it. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you would like to support the show, the very best way for you to do that is to go to feedthebadger.com/support. We are doing our monthly fundraiser, which has 3 days on, and we still have about 2,200 left to go. So please do consider going there and helping us out. Once again, feedthebadger.com/support. And I don't know if I'll have to do some arm twisting. Please go there so I don't have to. $5, $10, every bit helps. Go look in your couch cushions. Just put the URL in your browser and just ponder the orb. I should have an orb on that website so you guys can go ponder it. Anyway, feedthebadger.com/support. All right. Go for it, Brian.
All right, so I got some super chows. Some of them disappeared from my social stream ninja, so I won't be able to display them. But Richard Bier gives us $5 and says, "Was Sam prepared to deal with the horde of all the Karens? Have you seen that video of the Indian man who, on a close to a 100K salary, was still hitting up food banks? An interesting thing is that apparently there is some public image agency that takes action against people who create negative public perception of Indians. However, this agency is curiously silent about the scam call centers operating out of India, though, and possibly related to the actual show topic, yeah, because that sounds super weird. Is there a link between sexual arousal and fear in women to the extent that one can't be experienced without the other? Manscaping is too much information to be sharing, Karen." Wow, this is just like spaghetti and minestrone at the same time. Thank you, Richard, for that. Go ahead. He was getting the most out of his $5.
It was multifaceted.
It's not like it's covered in short and curlies. Yeah, wow. It's like like Sean Connery in Zardoz.
Yeah.
You know, do you remember that?
You may not like it, but that's peak masculinity.
Yeah.
Has Sasquatches. You produce
Mhm.
Sasquatch children. Do you have a little bit of Sasquatch in you? Mm.
All right. Next,
Yeah, let's do it.
I got another super chat from Richard, not Richard Bier, but it's just Richard for $5, and they say, how much of this would still be invisible had not Cassie J not made the red pill? I think had Cassie J not made the red pill is what it meant to say. Actually, a lot of it. I'm guessing that Cassie J's movie made a massive impact. That's what I would guess, but what do you guys think? Stop recording?
Karen, why don't you try like restarting everything and then coming back in?
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just come
We'll
back
have to
on.
wait a bit.
So
wait a
we're
bit
just
while
gonna.
she
I
returns.
got to get through all the super chows and stuff anyway. So,
Yeah.
all right. So what was the last super chow? So yeah, I would say yes. Allison, what do you think? Do you think Cassie J's movie made a big difference?
I think it was really critical. Like it
Yeah,
made
absolutely.
a really big difference. Probably more than anything else.
I agree 100%. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. I think that her film had done the rounds. She made a lot of appearances, and you know what? It changed her life in a significant way, and I think that's enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Richard Bier gives us $5 and says the economically disadvantaged are Pokemon cards for women. Got to get them all. The 304s on the whatever podcast make themselves look stupid with very little external factors other than simple questions asked Allison. Is there any data that any recovery was possible from when the mouse utopia did go into decline? From what I've heard, the beautiful ones, even when removing from that habitat, removed from that habitat, still didn't show any mating interest when placed in a new habitat with a breeding partner. Again, multiple comments. I'll let Allison respond first.
So when they did do the mouse utopia, I'm not sure if
Karen returns here and the chaos begins to multiply. I include it for your edification.
If that particular mouse utopia did anything to recover it. I think they were just examining that the ultimate outcome of that mouse utopia. But I did hear that the researcher, whose name I do not remember, but might have also been Richard, at least the first name. He did go on to do other mouse utopias, so that was just one mouse utopia. He had previous mouse utopias, and then he went on to do more mouse utopias. And apparently, he discovered that to prevent
women
a mouse utopia going into decline, you had to give mice creative endeavors. So if I looked and read about the mouse utopia, what I would say is that what happened with the mouse utopia is that by giving the mice all of the food they could want, all of the sanitation, they had everything provided for them, they had ample nesting and material and nesting room, everything was given to them. So it's basically the perfect utopia, the perfect communist utopia, right? That's what they constructed. And exactly
can
what
you guys
said in response to
can you guys hear me?
You cannot have a functioning society without some kind of meritocracy.
Okay, well, don't you mute your mics while I'm talking?
And that's really what happened in the mouse utopia.
No, I will mute when I'm not talking, right?
Women too.
You mute while I'm talking,
often,
and that
women's purpose tends to
basically
like
Calhoun
generate their purpose. And
Calhoun decided population collapse overpopulation. But I looked at it, it was like none of these mice do anything, right? Like they don't have to work for any, and so they all get lazy and get screwy in the
Give
head.
Give it a second.
Rates 7%.
Okay, so essentially, let me just finish what I found out about the mouse.
And that was after
what happened
implantation,
because
early miscarriage, right? Females couldn't, and then the baby successfully born full term ended up like because their mothers just couldn't all these things to do. They had no environment. They had no outside pressure on them.
What the researcher did going forward is he actually gave.
They were like, "Well, I'll survive, and and if my baby's," and it's like the perfect example of abortion. In which for a baby at this time, and so I'll just abort it because I can have another one later.
Podcast, I just want to say,
who decided to abortion? Rose McGowan is one, right? Have an abortion when they were, right? And now they have no children, and way too, they just had other things to do, miserable and unhappy, and blaming everything on men and embracing radical feminism.
It's,
and it's like,
yeah, mute when you're
why
not
didn't you
talking. That should
baby
work.
that you were stuck? Like, why didn't you just do that?
That's what I mean.
Well,
Let me read that. All right, so I wanted to go ahead.
no, that was only one, and it was very disturbing, amusing because he laughed in his way. Yeah.
You can't build heaven on earth. All right.
Okay.
Let me read that. I just want to say about the 304s on the whatever
No,
podcast. So
the family.
I don't. Again, I agree
and
with
still
Richard Bier
maintain
for
the
this,
obligation of
because
men
the
to
women
pay
that go on
for
there,
everything.
they
Also,
go on there
Allison,
proud of all their decisions.
just clicking
and I don't think that the people
mute,
who are,
for no
I mean, sometimes you
reason,
get like,
because
kind of
Riverside.
aggressive counter hosts that want to like put these women in their place or whatever. But I mean, like, they choose to go on there. They make a lot of money. Like, they're not victims of those
I
decisions.
don't know.
So
I don't.
I'm not gonna like pretend like they're being, like,
Yes.
put
Okay.
on,
So
I don't know, like
anything.
on display, like some
Karen,
sacrificial
mute.
lamb to be made fun of. I'm not going to do that, and I don't really appreciate that Lauren Southern like tries to cape for these women. And I will say too, I've seen other guys do that. I've seen Andrew Clavin do it. He's like, oh, these poor ladies. It's like, no, they chose to go on there. They go on there to brag about making like tens of thousands of dollars a month on their OnlyFans. They seem to think they're happy. They probably will come to the realization that they're miserable later. But I'm sorry, but I don't have sympathy, just in the same way that I don't have sympathy for, a man that does, like, maybe like whores himself out too much, or plays the field for too long and then finds himself alone. I mean, you are an adult. You make choices. If you choose to go on the whatever podcast, you know what it's about now. These women are not, I'm sorry, but they're not lambs that don't know what's going on. Like, they've made that choice. We have to treat them like adults. That's where this whole thing starts. You should start by treating them like adults. So, all right, next super child is Urushima. He gives the $10 and says, hey, Karen, do you still dream about Tucker fisting Eastern European hookers? Yeah.
Lord, why do you bring it up?
And then I don't know. Then I got one from Anonymous for $20, and they say Brian should be on every show. That's Brian with a Y, so I don't know who he's talking about. And BX, the person you interviewed, has Pearl derangement syndrome. Yeah, I mean, BX is I like her overall. I mean, I think that she can overstretch her, maybe on some things, like overreach, but I like her overall. But thank you for that, Anonymous. And then we got one more from Richard Bier for, let me see if I can find the super chow in here. Where is it? For $5. And he says, Karen, don't you realize how many sweatshop employees are depending upon those very spending habits for an unsustainable livelihood and meager income? Yeah, exactly. I mean, all right. And then I got some super chats as well. I'm just going to get through those and then we'll keep going because people do give us these. So Gary Thomas gave us $10 and says, hey, y'all. Hey, all, regarding women's suffrage. I'm sorry, I said, hey, y'all. I've been in Virginia too long. Hey, all, regarding women's suffrage, I saw a feminist say that women needed the right to vote because women gaining the right to vote aligning with the ages of consent being raised across the U.S. Thank you for the $10, Gary. It's not a right as far as I'm concerned, but that's another conversation. Gary Thomas then gives us $5 and says, that sounds like horse shit because I remember several prominent feminists of the past advocating for struggle snuggling with kids. And then we get one more from Gary Thomas let me see if I see that here. I think it was in my, yes, here we go. From Gary Thomas, it says, in regards to Islam, isn't it true that when it first came along, it was seen in many ways as much more progressive than Christianity was at the time? I think a lot of feminists still do Islam as the most feminist religion. And it is, really. I
wonder if Riverside is struggling with the 3 people.
Well,
I
mean, Karen, you're on Wi-Fi, right? I'm listening.
Yeah, she's muted. Unfortunately, I think. So I think she's ranting at the moment, but we can't hear you.
So there might be a delay in when you click it, and then when it says Karen's computer stopped recording. Yeah. Maybe we should just,
yeah, let's go. You know what? Okay, guys, I apologize. We are trying out a new format, a new platform. We can't do a full run through without actually doing a full run through. So we're probably going to have to Okay, what we'll do is this. We will go to the patron show now.
I didn't set one up.
Oh, you didn't set one up?
No,
Okay, then we won't.
I didn't think there was going to be a patron show.
Okay, wait. Everyone calm down. Then we won't go to a patron show. We'll just, okay.
And maybe we'll go back to the old.
Okay, guys, we're gonna just have to call it a day due to physical illness. All right, once again, if you want to send us a comment, we will continue this. We're not giving up. I mean, it's the weekend. Yeah, go ahead, leave.
Bye,
go,
Karen.
Go.
Thanks for giving this
I
a
didn't
shot.
realize you're this sick. Yeah, thanks for coming because you were sick. I thought you just had
Oh.
like, I don't know.
Well, when you stop, let me see. Wait, I should stop the recording right now because then Karen's thing will upload. So I'm going to stop the recording, but we're still going to be streaming.
So that's what we managed to pull from the jaws of technical difficulties. A little chaotic, but we're going to get there. We're not stopping, not yet. Anyway, if you would like to make sure we can continue to do this delectable content, please go to feedthebadger.com/support because we are doing our monthly fundraiser and we do need you to support us so that we can iron out all of the kinks and continue to talk about the issues in the way that we do. I think we're the only group that says you got to start caring about men or we're going to lose everything that men build. And men are responsible for building a lot. So anyway, if you want to make sure that message keeps getting out there, feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to just send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. So thank you again for your kind attention and enjoy the rest of your day.